Interesting. We got a buff called lightning charges? Alright, next turn. Let's check this out. Oh my. This is Act 1, and these mobs take half damage from force, by the way. The Lifebringer, the Jolty Vest, the Speedy Lightfeet, the Spellsparkler, the real Sparky Sparkswall, the Blast Pendent, and the Sparkswall. So what are these items, and how do they all work together? Well, today we're going to talk about that and show off a build that actually gets an advantage from using these pieces. They can all be acquired in Act 1 as well, which can make a very powerful character as you begin the game off, and it will actually continue to scale with the particular build that I'm showing today as well. First up is the Spellsparkler. This is one of the reward options for saving Counselor Floric at Joaquin's Rest. When the wielder deals damage with a spell or cantrip, you gain 2 lightning charges. That's why we've stuck this set on an Eldritch Blast Sorlock or a Sorcerer and Warlock multiclass. Now there's a lot of options for this. This is just what the guide will cover today. In Act 1, we already have the ability to cast 2 Eldritch Blasts, since it scales on character level and not Warlock level. This will also continue to scale, meaning we can get more lightning charges per turn as we level up higher. So what's a lightning charge do for us? Well, it adds +1 lightning damage as well as +1 to attack, meaning our Eldritch Blasts will hit more frequent and for more damage. Whenever we have a bonus to damage, we'll get more benefit with a larger number of attacks as well. Perfect for this build. Once we have 5 charges, they'll also deal an additional 1d8. It's a lot of sources of damage for a low level character. Whenever we gain lightning charges, we'll gain 3 temporary hit points from the Lifebringer. This item is sold by Blur in the Underdark. Now these temporary hit points don't stack, but this does help ensure that we basically have 3 temporary hit points every time we get a chance to act. Eldritch Blast has multiple casts with a pretty decent chance to hit, so we basically always have this buffer to just increase our survivability. For some slots, including the boots for example, there's multiple options of gear that have lightning charges or something to do with lightning charges. For this particular setup I prefer the Speedy Lightfeet, and that's because with the Sorlock build, you can actually use dash on the first turn, use Quicken Spell to then cast Eldritch Blast, and get enough charges to actually proc the lightning charge and do additional damage all on the first turn of combat. The Speedy Lightfeet can be found in the Blighted Village below the windmill where the gnome is going round and round. The Blast Pendant, or more specifically the Lightning Blast skill that it has to offer, is a means of buffing the lightning damage on our next spell or cantrip. At low levels, we're fairly limited, and the best use of this is Shocking Grasp. However, as we get higher level, if we're spec'd into the subclass Draconic Bloodline, with a Lightning Dragon Ancestor, we'll get access to some powerful lightning spells that this can buff. The Blast Pendant can be found in the Underdark. After you defeat the Spectator, one of the drows that he's released named Dorn will end up picking a fight with you if you choose the correct dialogue options. Looting his corpse will reveal this pendant. Here you can see a Jolty Vest proc. Anytime the wearer takes damage while having lightning charges, the attacker must succeed a dexterity saving throw or become shocked. Shocked is a condition where they cannot take reactions and have disadvantage on ability checks and saving throws using dexterity. The Jolty Vest can be found at the Zentrum Outpost, which is along a quest line that leads to a secret passage through a cellar in Joaquin's Rest. The real Sparky Sparkswall allows you to use a lightning ore, which causes all enemies in a large area around you to become jolted. Jolted causes them to be unable to take reactions and suffer 1d4 damage per turn. The real Sparky Sparkswall is found in Grimforge. Jump your way along a couple of broken paths, unlock a chest, and you'll find it within the contents. The Sparkswall synergizes well with the Water Sparkers, allowing you to electrify any water surface that you're standing in during combat, without being electrocuted yourself. The intent of this video is just to give you an idea and a viable build in which you can use these lightning charge pieces with. If you're interested in the full Sorlock build that I'll be using for the playthrough that I'm showing, I'll leave that in the description below. For the sake of this video, we'll cover the key parts of making this Sorlock that'll work well with your lightning charges up to level 6, which is probably the highest level you'll get during Act 1 and acquire all of these pieces. At level 1, we're actually going to take Fighter. This is mainly for proficiency reasons. This will give us access to both medium and heavy armor along with shields. This can go a long way for us defensively. For fighting style, we'll take the defense. This is going to give us +1 bonus to armor class while wearing armor, which we will be with this build. Our ability scores we'll drop our intelligence down to 8 so that we have additional points to place elsewhere. Making use of the modifiers, we'll push charisma to 16. On top of that, we'll put dexterity to 16, and we won't get full benefit of this in regards to armor class bonus because we'll be wearing a medium armor in this particular build. However, there are some light armor options as well, but this dexterity score is mainly for the initiative purpose. This class has a lot of burst damage, especially as you level up higher, and we want to make use of a higher initiative to pick off key targets before they get a turn to act. At level 2, we'll put our first level into Warlock. This will give us access to cantrips, a subclass, and some spells. For the cantrips, I would select Eldritch Blast. This is going to be the ability that we spam more often than anything else. Doesn't use a spell charge. We can just cast this over and over, and as you see with the lightning charges, this is how we're going to generate them, and then we're going to be able to expend them or have them go off on their own for additional damage. The second cantrip is of less importance. I would suggest Mage Hand. It just has a lot of utility throughout the game. Subclass, we're going to select the Great Old One. This is going to give us access to 2 spells. We're going to select Armor of Agathis, which is going to give us some additional temporary hit points, although we do have the means of generating these through the helmet that we're wearing with the lightning charges. What we're really after here is the cold damage that it'll do to any creature that attacks us with a melee attack. You can cast this when you start the day, and it will last for the remainder of the day. Top of this, we're going to take Hex. This is a bonus action, meaning that we can use this bonus action first, causing the enemy to take an additional 1 to 6 necrotic damage for every Eldritch Blast that we hit it with. Just a huge damage modifier and increases our overall damage output dramatically. The subclass feature, when we land a critical hit against a creature, that creature and any nearby enemies must succeed against a wisdom saving throw or become frightened until the end of their next turn. This is nice because we're casting so many Eldritch Blasts that there's going to be a higher chance of this proccing just due to the increased number of attacks we have. At level 3, we'll place a second level into Warlock, and this will be the final level that we put into Warlock. This will give us another spell slot as well as Eldritch Invocations. For the spell slot, I would recommend Arms of Hadar at this point. This is a nice AoE spell, and there's not too many opportunities to pick up an AoE spell early on. For Eldritch Invocations, make sure that you take Agonizing Blast. This is incredibly powerful. It's going to add your Charisma modifier to the damage that your Eldritch Blast does. After that, you'll most likely want to choose between either Devil's Sight, allowing you to see up to 24 meters in magical or non-magical darkness, or Repelling Blast, which is a toggleable passive feature, allowing you to choose whether or not you want to push the creature back when you hit them with your Eldritch Blast. At character level 4, we'll put our first level into Sorcerer, and this varies from the in-depth guide that I have that I've linked in the description for you, and this has to do with the party composition that I had in my playthrough. However, I wanted to make sure that the guide was accurate to what I was showing you in the video. By doing this, we're going to lose out on Action Surge from the second level of Fighter until later. However, we're going to gain some cantrips, which will mainly take for utility, Friends, Dancing Lights, Minor Illusion, and Blade Ward, as well as a couple of spells. Shield, very nice for defensive reasons, as well as Magic Missile, just has an ability to guarantee that you land a hit in case you want to finish an enemy off. On top of that, we'll get to select our Draconic Bloodline and our Draconic Ancestor. We'll go and select the Draconic Bloodline for the subclass, and we want to make sure that we choose either the blue or the bronze, making sure that we have that lightning family. Very important since we're making use of the lightning charges in this build. At level 5, we'll put another level into Sorcerer. This will give us another spell slot as well as 2 class passives to choose from. For the spell slot, I would recommend Featherfall. Again, just furthering the utility that this has. This class has got the damage component covered and has a reliable source of doing so with the Eldritch Blast, which allows us to pick up a bunch of utility for our party. For class passives, I would recommend the Distance Spell as well as Twin Spell. Distance Spell is going to increase the range of spells by 50%, and melee spells get a range of 9 meters. Twin Spell, spells that only target one creature, can target an additional creature. This is especially nice later on when we pick up things like Haste. Character level 6, we'll put another level into Sorcerer. You could also choose to put this level into Fighter to get that Action Surge as well. In this situation of this party, I wanted to have a little bit more AoE at my disposal, and that extra spell slot allowed me to pick up Cloud of Daggers, which complements the build nicely. For class passives, you want to make sure you pick up Quicken Spell at this point. This will allow spells that cost an action to cost a bonus action instead, just increasing the versatility of what you can do in an individual turn. If you're interested in the in-depth version of this build, make sure you check it out in the description below. As always, thanks for taking the time to watch, and have a great day.